But anyway, it's so then I'm heading to Denver on Monday for the Home Run Derby. And then, of course, the All-Star Game, Chris. I'll be back Wednesday on the show. So looking forward to it. But this is you got a couple things here that's different this year. A couple guys have turned down the opportunity to come to the All-Star Game. You got the details?
Well, the guys are Jose Altuve of the Houston Astros, of course, and Carlos Correa of the Houston Astros. Now, I'm going to give Correa a pass because he says that he not just says it, but it's true. His wife is pregnant. And he said, look, we've been trying to get pregnant for a while. Finally, she is pregnant, and he wants to be a part of it as much as he can. So he said, he went into detail. He said, I want to go to the doctor's appointments and see the baby on the sonogram and just enjoy the whole experience to the degree that he can. So he wants to take off these 4 days. I got to give him a pass on that, Rob. I'm not going to say he's using that as an excuse. It is a special thing when you have your first baby or any child of yours that's born. But Jose Altuve, he's just saying he's banged up and he needs the 4 days rest. Now, Rob, some are saying, I know you have a strong opinion on this, but let me just throw this out to you before you go in on it. Some are saying that these two, and I guess in particular Altuve, but both of them, don't really want to face the heat that they might get from other players. Because think about it, you're generally with your own teammates all the time, right? You play other teams, but you don't really have to interact, at least with guys that you're not friends with, right, who might not give you any flack anyway from other teams. So I don't know. Maybe there could be some truth to that. You buy that there's any truth to that?
There could be, but I think it's awful selfish of Altuve not, and I'm going to just use him, Chris, because I'll just give you I'll give Correa a pass as well. I think it's an honor to be picked to go to the All-Star team, whether it's by the fans or by the managers who pick the reserves, Chris. It's an honor, and I think what you do when you don't accept that honor is you dump on the fans, because the All-Star game is the fans' game. It's a chance for the sport to showcase its best players, for people to watch and see who's the stars in the league and whatnot. It is a big part of the selling of the game. And I think it's a selfish move when you do that. You take away from that moment and that night. People are different. You could go look at Hank Aaron and these guys. Chris, they went to 24 All-Star games. 24! Do you know what I mean? Right. And they went every year. It was an honor. Yeah, it was great to have a couple 4 days off. But when you're the best of the best in the league, you owe it to your organization to represent them. You owe it to your fan base to represent. You run out there, you have that Houston on your chest, Chris, on the All-Star, right, uniform. And you feel proud, man. My guys made the All-Star team. I remember growing up as a kid in New York as a Mets fan, Chris, and guess what? Back then, they didn't take a player from every team. So there were years when I watched the All-Star game and no Mets were on the All-Star team because they weren't good enough. And I used to watch in awe. I can't wait to see one of the players that I like, right, at the All-Star game, wearing the All-Star hat. It meant something to me. I don't want to be over dramatic.
Too late.
But I think a little bit. Too late. But I think people don't really think about the fans, Chris. I'm a fans guy. People care. People buy tickets. People, pay for cable and for MLB TV on their laptop to watch out-of-state games and all kinds of stuff. And I think when you do that, you might think, well, I don't have to do that. I make a gazillion. I don't feel like going. I don't want to go to Denver or whatever. It's selfish. And shame on those guys who don't recognize it and understand that these are cherished moments that you can't get back. And it ain't automatic. Altuve, you know what? You could think to yourself, well, I could go to All-Star game anytime. You might get hurt. You might never make another All-Star game. They might stop banging on garbage cans for you, and you might never make it back. Seriously.
Well, It's well said, Rob. Well said. And I'm with you. It reeks of arrogance and ungratefulness. Is that a word, ungratefulness?
Yes. To be ungrateful.
Yeah, it's special, man, to be chosen as an all-star. It really is. To be chosen as one of the best players in your sport. I mean, as a kid, you played baseball. I mean, just to make that all-star team was special. And I get it. These are adults. They've been great, and they've been the greatest for every year they've played baseball. But still, I agree with everything you said about the fans. And I do feel like you just not only owe it to the game, but, man, I would want to be there with all the other great players in the league.
Yes. And
that's why you wonder if indeed it is true that Altuve just doesn't really want to be around these guys who think he cheated. I mean, there may be some truth about that, because who wouldn't want, and I know some, like you said, all people are different, but man, just to go there and be like, I'm one of the best players in the world, and you're hanging out with all the other stars. And look, Rob, you know this, you can rest. If you really need a rest, you can tell the manager, look, man, don't play me, or play me an inning or two. You know, I got this ailment. I'm trying to make sure it's fine. And even the whole weekend, you don't have to be out and about as much. You could have your family with you. You could make it low key. Some players do that. Others want to party and hang out all the time. It's up to you. But I agree with you that, in the NBA, the players tend, they go for the most part. And LeBron they said recently, he really didn't want to, but he realized
it was an obligation.
Right. It's for the betterment of the game. And at the end of the day, as you said, the fans are the engine that drives the game.
Chris, can I tell you?
Because if they don't pay attention, you don't have a game. Yeah, and you're not a superstar. Let me say one last thing, Rob, because you said it. You alluded to it. Jose Altuve, if he indeed is doing this with negative ulterior motives, he's going to regret it, because you're young when you're done playing baseball, and you only get so many opportunities for an experience like this. And he'll look back and say, man, I missed out on that one. I wish I had been there. So I just think you should go. It's an honor, and you should soak it up and do your obligation to the fans.
I also want to say, I remember going to the 1999 All-Star Game at Fenway Park, and it's like magical moments. Pedro Martinez pitched in that game. He started for the American League, and he was the first pitcher ever. He struck out the first 4 batters and 5 of the 6 outs in those 2 innings. It was electric. Right. It was one of those moments. When you strike out the first 4, these are the best players in the National League you're facing. You know what I mean? Yep. It tells you, where you rank and how great you are. It is one of those moments.
That's a great point.
Right? And it
really
does.
Get to show. And that's when I don't know if it's, unfortunately, Rob, I don't know if it's as competitive now. But when I was a kid, that's what you wanted to see, the best go against each other.
Right.
And it felt like at least the players wanted to, go against the best too. And I'm the best.
Of all the All-Star games, it's still played the same way. And what I mean by that, Chris, is you don't throw the ball slower. You don't try to let somebody get a hit. You know what I mean? You're pitching and you're doing whatever you got to do. And in that moment,
it doesn't seem as competitive as it used to be.
I don't think. I think it's still maybe not the. I still think they're trying to get
Pete
people
Rose,
out.
Who was it?
Oh yeah, Ray Fosse. He injured him. He ran over the catcher, whose career was never the same. Right. I mean, those days are over like that. I agree with you. Right. But I'm just saying that Pedro moment. It was electric, Chris. I've been to.
But that was that right there, Rob. Was 22 years ago.
That was 1999. And think about my first All-Star game. Was 1991. I've been going for 30 years to All-Star games. It never gets old for me.
You haven't missed
going.
One?
No, I might have missed a couple in there, but for 30 years, it dates back to my very first All-Star game, which was in Toronto.